Hello, creative cooks. Welcome back to another episode of the Creative Phebe Cooks channel. I'm your host, Phebe, and today we'll be making a one ingredient and oil-free cassava flatbread made out of fresh cassava, also known as yucca. They're naturally gluten-free and highly nourishing. Watch this episode till the very end because I'll be sharing noteworthy tips on what to look out for when shopping for cassava at the stores and showing you all a simple way you can have these cassava flatbread for lunch this week if you're out of options. Also, if you're looking for an organized method to make a list of groceries you need and plan out your meals in detail for the week or the month in advance, look no farther than my editable meal planners that you can use on any device. I've added a link below for you to get your copy right away. And if you already have my cookbook, Eat Joyfully, I included a meal planner in the cookbook just for you at no cost and hope you're enjoying the recipes so far. Let me know in the comments below. And with that, let's start making these delicious oil-free stack of cassava flatbread. To begin, place a freshly washed and dried cassava root on a well-secured chopping board to prevent any injuries because cassavas can be heavy, they're sturdy, the whole shebang. They're just a root that needs extra care. Cut off the ends of the cassava, then cut the entire root cross-sectionally into 1-inch rounds. If you prefer, cut them larger if you want to make larger flatbread. If you're new to cassava, they're pretty tough, like I mentioned. They have a brown peel and a white flesh with a few thin yet noticeable black or grayish lines that run along the length of the cassava flesh. To remove the peel, use a paring knife to make a shallow slit along the length of each of the rounds, tough peel, and gently pass the knife underneath the cassava peel to separate it from the cassava flesh. Then repeat the process for the remaining cassava root rounds. Cassava roots are often dried and ground to fine powder and shipped globally to make this nutritionally dense product easily accessible to make all kinds of recipes. In fact, I use cassava flour as a wonderful gluten-free and grain-free flour to make a few favorites that you probably have already seen on this channel. I've used them to make a pear and gingerbread, which I also turned into cupcakes. I used the cassava flour as a binder for these delicious stack of plantain flatbread, to thicken this dairy-free and vegan yogurt, and also to make some fufu to eat with soup. So, if you're looking for a grain-free and gluten-free flour substitute for some of your recipes, of course, I've listed my favorite cassava flour below for you, which is an absolute staple in my pantry. Once you're done peeling the cassava, wash them thoroughly. Place them in a large pot with water that's about 2 inches above the cassava. Then bring to a boil, add in a pinch of salt, and allow to continue boiling for 25 minutes until they're soft. The softer they are, the better and easier we can flatten these. While the cassava cooks, if you're curious about getting the best cassava root for a recipe like this or something else, here are a few tips to keep in mind when shopping for cassava. See what your local grocery store has in stock, specifically ethnic stores like African, Mexican, or Asian stores, or even online if these stores are scarce in your area. Look for cassava that's either short or long, because they come in various sizes and lengths. They're tapered on one end, which is the end of that root, and are fairly heavy for their size. Observe each one from top to bottom and make sure their rough brown peel is intact with no mold. The skin may be covered with wax to help preserve the root during long commutes from farms to grocery stores around the world. Now, the heavier it is, the more you can make out of it, and the more you get, the better. So, buy in bulk to save you time and prepare them by cutting into sizable chunks as preferred, like I illustrated earlier in the video. Peel it, cut it into quarters, and remove the middle rib because it can be quite fibrous. In fact, it is quite fibrous and you can't chew it down. Then wash it, drain, and place in large storage bags and store in your freezer for a later date. Something to also keep in mind is that cassava is a tuberous root, also referred to as a storage root, that supports the cassava plant. It is quite versatile in various recipes and cuisines. You can also use the cassava leaves to make a delicious cassava soup. My African people, you know what I'm talking about. And that's a whole dish on another level of tasty goodness. I hope you found this information helpful. And if you did, please subscribe to my channel. Give it a thumbs up if you want to see more videos like this. And kindly share the link with a loved one who loves to cook creatively, like you. Now, once the cassava is done cooking, you'll notice that they have expanded and possibly disintegrated from their individual round forms. No worries there. Test their doneness by piercing a large piece with a fork, ensuring that they are soft. Then turn off the heat and drain the cooked cassava in a colander, or use a slotted spoon to remove them from the boiled water and set aside in a bowl. Glass or metal bowl would be perfect for this. Then cover the bowl with the cassava in it with a lid to keep them warm. The warmth of the cassava will keep them soft and help them to flatten easily, so you can get beautifully crisp and charred surfaces on those amazing flatbread. So the goal is to work quickly so they don't get cold. The colder they get, the harder it is to flatten them. Turn on one of the largest burners on your stove to medium heat and heat up a cast iron skillet until it is hot. Like we did for the plantain flatbread. On a flat surface or a chopping board, lay each cassava round or a few pieces of cassava to form a round between two layers of parchment paper and flatten them with a tortilla press, a plate with a flat bottom, or the top of a cake stand as I'm doing here. If you're making a large amount for batch cooking, the tortilla press will probably be in your favor. And of course, I've listed one below that comes in various sizes and with pre-cut parchment paper for you to consider. So don't miss out on that, especially if you like to make flatbread for the week in advance. Like I mentioned, this is completely oil-free. So once you've flattened your cassava and the cast iron is hot, transfer the flattened cassava onto the skillet and cook for 2 minutes. Then flip to cook on the other side for 1 minute and 30 seconds. Feel free to use 2 skillets as I'm doing here to make the process quicker so you can enjoy your meal and enjoy the rest of your day in great company. One viewer commented that she felt inspired to get a cast iron skillet instead of some other sort of a non-stick pan after watching my red lentil flatbread recipe. So, if that's something that you'd like to do as well and super conscious about the ingredient quality of your cookware, I've listed a link below for you to get a large cast iron skillet or 2, the same one I recommended to her. These cast iron skillets are workhorses. They are top tier and unrivaled when it comes to cooking essentials in my kitchen. They're heavy duty, oven safe, and get better with every use. and I don't want you to miss out on it. So you're one link away from getting yours. And no, this is not sponsored. I just really love large cast iron skillets. Period. Notice the charred effect on the flatbread. I mean, how gorgeous is that? Once it's done cooking, remove the flatbread from the skillet and save it on a baking rack to cool off. Do not stack the flatbread while they're warm, else they'll stick to each other. Repeat the flattening and cooking process for the remaining cassava. Now this recipe makes about 9 to 12 cassava flatbread, depending on the size of your cassava and the size of your flatbread. After thoroughly cooled, stack up the flatbread, store them in your fridge for a week or freezer for up to a month to aid in your batch cooking. Because some of y'all asked if the plantain flatbread is good to be stored in the freezer, and just like these, they are. Now, like with most flatbread, the serving style is completely up to you. You may serve these cassava flatbread with savory or sweet recipes. They're a perfect complement for lunch or dinner, a great side meal. Turn them into crackers. I mean, it's up to you. I'll be serving them with a cooling avocado and cucumber salad, together with the hummus I whipped up last week to pair with the slightly earthy note of the cassava flatbread. I've added a link below for the hummus recipe, and I'm interested to know how you'd have these cassava flatbread. Also, if you'd like to try more gluten-free flatbread recipe, of course, you know I've got you. I have included a flatbread playlist below just for you. Enjoy binge watching, have fun making these, and let me know which one you fancy the most. Can you make these with cassava flour instead? Absolutely, but I haven't tried it yet. So, if you do, and when you do, please share your experience in the comments below. We'd all love to know and learn from each other. If you enjoyed this video, do not forget to give it a thumbs up. And that's it for today, Creative Cooks on cassava flatbread. I hope you enjoyed today's recipe together with the shopping tips for cassava, as well as your options on meal planners. As always, thank you so much for watching, and see you next week for another amazing video.